Hello and welcome to All For United with me, John Foster, MUFC. Four of us tonight. Natalie, you okay, mate?
I'm okay, John.
Anthony, good to see you on, mate. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me, as always.
And Ben, keeping yourself busy, you okay?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. As always, when there's breaking news, things change on the show. We'll still go through what we've been advertising for today, but obviously the breaking news, the biggest breaking news of the day is Jess Sigsworth confirmed to be leaving at the end of the month. Okay, so there's no big surprises there, but obviously it's now being confirmed. Leicester's name wasn't mentioned, but obviously there's rumours going around about that all over Twitter for the last few weeks, so we've got every reason to believe that is true. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the WSL start date as well. So that was announced earlier today, the 3rd of September, the weekend starting the 3rd of September. I'm guessing that's a Friday, and then that'll be staggered Friday, Saturday and Sunday. I want to refer back to Casey Stoney's quotes back in April in the pre-match press conference against Bristol, where she starts saying her transfer kitty isn't as big as the top three. So I think that's quite relevant at the moment with some of the players that we're looking at. I know Natalie will put a different side to that argument as well, or an extra side to that argument. And then the MEN today has come out and named their top 5 candidates for the head coach position. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So loads to talk about. Thank you to everybody in the comments already. John, Dennis, Karen, Paul, thank you very much. I'll put your comments on screen shortly. But yeah, Natalie, let's start off with yourself then. First of all, obviously, Jess is obviously going to get a massive reception when she comes back to LSB. It's a shame, obviously, because we've been there from the start, haven't we, with her since 2018. I know. Yeah, I was going to wear my shirt, but I put a picture of it on Twitter instead. But she means a lot to us, doesn't she? Nat?
Oh, 100%. She's the reason why I watch football, and I know Craney will say, "Don't go on," but listen. I'm going to go on his show and it's going to be like especially dedicated to her, and I know that potentially there might be something tomorrow as well. That's what I'm anticipating. But yeah, Jess is, I mean, I've seen some, I won't call it nasty comments, I've seen some comments going, right, who's next? And I think, like you said, watched it since 2018. She was our top goal scorer. That boot there is all the goals that she scored. She then never ever complained, played out on the right wing, and I think a lot of us were on podcasts, not just this one, but all different, Barmy Army, when we did a lot of full-time double stuff, saying, play Jess as a 9, play Jess as a 9, but she never ever heard her say that. And so now it's Emma Sanders who's sort of linking it to Leicester, and I think that's fantastic for her. That's all I would want for her, to go somewhere where she's going to play week in, week out, more than what, she's getting at United. And potentially she's going to play as a 9 there. And, for me, I think it's great for her. I'm so happy in that respect. But obviously, my heart, it hurts because, I'm never going to see her again in the United shirt. I know John Fry sort of saying he never got to see her. I mean, this season is sort of, I'm gutted that we're robbed of it, We saw little bits and, this and that, but didn't get that proper send-off, and, like you said, when she comes back, I'm sure she'll get like a hero's welcome, as she should. When we go there, she'll get a hero's reception, as she should. Whether we go and watch her when we can, because that's the way it will always be. We watch, loan, development, and then X-Reds where we can. But yeah, I'm sad, but I'm happy that she's going to Leicester, because I know that she's going to get looked after. If she was going to say, and then no disrespect to anyone, and Birmingham or something like that, I would be worried. Just because of what's going on, but I just know Leicester are good, so I know that she'll be looked after. So I'm sad, but I'm like, grateful that a good club's taking her, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, you said there about some people like saying, okay, so who's next? And that was a bit like when Casey left. Literally within minutes. Okay, so who's going to take over? And for a good couple of weeks, I was like, I don't care. We're going to take over. This is still more about our current manager being forced to leave, or thinking that she had to leave. And now, obviously, we've had this Jess Sigsworth thing. It's not so much of a big shock to a lot of us because we've been talking about it for quite a while. But it's still disappointing that one of your favourite players is leaving. And I'm not a Player FC person, and we spoke about Player FC on here a lot. But if I had to go to another match, then it would be a Leicester game just so we could see Jess. And we've all got our favourites. I think she's going to be a lot of our favourites because of how long she's been here, and not just a contribution on the pitch, but how many times has she come over after the game? How many times have you spoken to her privately, Nat? And she's commented on my tweets. Not every player comments on tweets; a lot of them do. But Jess has commented 2-3 times. Whether it be me holding up a shirt or me singing a song or somebody else drawing a picture. I can't remember who it was. Someone drew a picture and she retweeted that one. And her social media presence is there for everyone, isn't it? So
she's just Susie watches these shows. She does little videos and she just commented on that, just saying how much she's going to miss it. And it's just sad, man. It's sad, boys. It's in the heart, innit?
This is a sad one because it's this time, like the first season, the second season was sad because some of the youngsters were leaving. Now it's some of the senior ones, and we know Jess is going to be the only one that leaves. We know it's going to be other players that's going to hurt us more than Heath and Press emotionally. Okay, maybe not standards wise, but emotionally, if Heath and Press go, they've only been with us a year. We would expect them to be here a year. Whereas some of them, you're hoping that they're going to be at the club until retirement, or that's kind of what you'd like to see happen at least. Ben, let's move on with yourself, mate. I mean, I know you're going to be on Match Show tomorrow as well, but please just kind of give your thoughts on the breaking news.
I think it was inevitable. I mean, since the rumours of Leicester coming out, and I agree with that, it couldn't go to a better club than Leicester. They're doing everything the right way, both in the men's and the women's side. I think I'm a little bit disappointed, but I can see why she want to go and play. She's going to get lots of game time down there. She's going to probably be first choice number 9 as well. No disrespect to whoever they've got at the minute that's number 9. I can't remember off the top of my head, but she'll probably be streets ahead of them. So it's just a shame it hasn't worked out the last couple of seasons while being the WSL for Jess. We already had a couple of injuries as well, which doesn't help. But and then unselfishly saying that she'll go and play out on the right hand side. And we've been on shows before where I've said she's got a Casey. She's to tell Casey, they said I'm centre forward. Play me centre forward. But I just good luck to her, man. Just a little bit gutted as always. It's one of the another one of the OG 21 gone. But we have to move on. And I know people that say, "Well, who's next?" and everything. It just shows they don't really follow the team. They just follow the fucking for the
There's no heart,
There's no heart, yeah, exactly.
No.
But I wish her all the best. I wish her good luck, and I think she's going to be herself with Leicester. If it is Leicester that she goes to, obviously, which the strong rumours are linked to Leicester, we're going to have to watch them coming up because I think they could be a dark horse to watch next season. And then she also links up back with ex-United player Charlie Devlin as well. So it's good to see that she's going somewhere where I think she'll be valued and she'll be trusted and she'll get game time. And then, there's always going to be somebody of our lot down there, Barmy Army-wise, or for United-wise, because obviously we know that Matt's got ties with Leicester. We know that Gareth's got ties with Leicester as well. So I'm sure everybody will be kept up and updated on this channel, on our Twitter, on our social media, everything of just how good Jess is doing throughout the next season.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%, mate. Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned there about it's not worked out for the WSL. I think the second season, like the first season in the WSL, she was just forced out wide. Like Natalie said, which isn't the best position. We all wanted to see her down the centre, but you can't play LJ and Jess down the centre. And this season, she was never going to be first choice with all these signings coming in. And I think, as Natalie said, it's best for her now to start getting some game time, to start being the number 1 again, like she was with us in our first season. I think it's what she deserves. And I don't think that would be too much pressure on her at Leicester. I hope not. Anyway, I hope that she pushes herself to be at her best, and I'm sure she's going to bang in a few goals. Anthony, when you think of Jess Sigsworth over the last 3 years, what do you think of?
Goals.
Yeah.
Work rate. commitment. I know it was a bit harder. Oh, was that mine? Or sorry, I know it was a bit harder the last season and a half. She's not had so many chances, and like you said, she has picked a couple of injuries up. But like Nat and Ben have said, you never heard her moan once.
Mm.
You know, I'm not so if it's so common in the women's game compared to the men's, but normally if someone's unhappy, you hear about this stuff. So, like Nat and Ben have said, yeah, it's a shame that she's going. I know we all knew that it was going to happen, and it's finally the ball's finally started rolling today, which because we had known for so long, and like I said to you at the start, I'm actually glad that the first person it's Jess, obviously, unfortunately, one of the original OG21s. But I'm glad the ball is finally rolling with the release list, because it has been a bit stale, and we have been wondering, when are they going to release the list? Like other teams have just done it in. This is our release list. This is who we've offered contracts in one go. Whereas United like to keep people waiting a bit. Like,
well, we said, didn't we, Nat, a few
Yeah.
weeks ago? There could be 10.
Yeah, and now it's 10 days. Yeah, who knows?
10 days, you know.
Listen, the way I don't see it though, with I get where Anthony's coming from. We're all frustrated. We just want to know, but at the same time, I think United are doing it well. If we just got a list of 10, for me, I wouldn't know where to do. Like Blessing just said, I thought I was prepared, but I'm still a bit heartbroken. And I think it's better that it's done like this, like, a day at a time for me, in my opinion, just because it's respect to her. It was respect to every player deserves like that. Thank you so much. Deserves that one thank you, deserves a post or whatever they're going to do, and this and that.
Yeah.
And tomorrow is a new day. It's probably going to be a new player. We don't know who yet. I mean, we sort of know who's the players that are going potentially, but, we don't know what order they're going to say it in. I mean, I know you said before just about Press and Tobin, and I mean, yeah, I'll be devastated, if especially Tobin and the impact that she's had, be devastated we didn't get to see her and all that kind of thing. But I think people like Jess, Martha, Amy Turner, like there's memories behind them. It's not just sort of, I know it's not just that with Tobin, and Tobin gave us the whole banter with the Manchester's Red, but there's like pure like, I remember when we were chatting and we did this. I remember when we went to Oslo and Martha said that. I remember this. I remember this when Jess, and I remember when me and Ben were out in Oslo on our own and Jess came out. It's things. And like Anthony, I remember she posted a picture and your little one. It's proper. And like even people who will not even go to games can feel that love from Jess. Like I said, she's quoting people doing things, and it's those feelings that they give you. And people can say, yeah, obviously it's time, but it's this is what makes women's football in a way special, because we've got all these memories that make it feel a lot more special and a lot more upset.
Well, that kind of goes into this commentary. We're not shocked. We knew ages ago that she's going to Leicester, but it's not about being shocked. It's about the fact that what Natalie just said, memories. When you spend so much of your time, invested your time into watching these play football, and they're not hanging on the Twitter and all the comments and the little YouTube videos, TikTok videos, and Twitter, Instagram lives, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I'll tell you, these have been with us since 2018, since this first started, and so yeah, we're not shocked, mate, but we are disappointed that we're not going to see him again, and we understand the reasons behind it, and it's probably for the best on both parties. But obviously, as a Man United fan, and she was a red through and through. It's just a shame that she's not going to be there. And it's also a shame, as like what Natalie said, we couldn't get the chance to say goodbye to not just her, but a lot of these players. You speak to them after the game, almost every home game. But now, obviously, we haven't spoken to her for 18 months when it matters the most, just to say goodbye to her and say thank you for everything. We're not going to be able to do that. So unless we drive down to Leicester or when she comes back up to LSV, and I'm sure she'll come over then, if she's allowed to. I'm sure she probably will be. And then we'll get to say goodbye then. But these are the things running through our heads now. It's not about being shocked. But yeah, and Stuart's on about the new manager. We're talking about 5 candidates towards the end of the show, what the MEN have come out with. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it on Jess. So obviously, we can go into a bit more detail about what Jess gave us on tomorrow night's show. We'll move on. So another bit of breaking news, something a little bit more easygoing, is the start date of the WSL season, 3rd of September. Weekend beginning 3rd of September. Obviously, we've been waiting for this moment for ages. We've got our season tickets. We've renewed season tickets. We've got the date now. Who do you think we're going to play?
A big one, isn't it? Because we always play a big one, so it's going to be a big one.
City first,
City.
Chelsea second.
Who knows, mate? It's always a big one. It's never just a nice, easy back in. It's always City, Chelsea, Arsenal. Who knows? Maybe Everton. I'm easy, whoever it is. I mean, God, they might do. Who knows? Like, say if it is a derby at home, for me, they might do Old Trafford. Something like that. I don't know if it's. I mean, I don't know the men's schedule fully. I don't know if Ben knows more on any. But is that weekend international weekend? I don't know, because that's when they usually like to start it, when the men's international is on. So I don't know. I know when he's just grab his thing.
It's a free week, by the way, Nat.
International weekend.
It's an international weekend. It's a free week.
There you go. So
the men's don't play to the 11th of September.
There you go. So you know that the FA are going to push for football, women's football weekend, whatever they want to call it, and have big games, derby games, this and that. Sky, fill the stadiums. It's all going to be. We know the score now. We've been here long enough. We know the script. And if it is Old Trafford, let's do it.
Yeah. Anthony, are you on that same kind of thought process that it's kind of going to be like scripted a little bit?
Yeah, Natalie's pretty much covered it. We've the last 2 seasons in the WSL. We started with Chelsea, and was it City first game? Yeah, City. So for some reason, the WSL like to give, like Nat says, likes to give us a big game, and you could look at Chelsea last season and think it could be a good thing, because you have to be right on from the start. Whereas if you place someone a bit lower down, say like Birmingham City at Lee, you might have that comfortable, say like 3-0 win. But then when it comes to one of the big 3, you might not be so much at the races. We all know we've got to play them twice. So to me, it doesn't matter whether we play them the first 3 games of the season or the last 3 games of the season. You still got to perform regardless of when in the season it is. But like Nat said, it wouldn't surprise me as a Manchester derby or Arsenal.
It could be Arsenal this time. It could be
or Chelsea, but I'd be surprised if they say a computer. What a load of rubbish! But if they release the fixtures and it says Birmingham at Lee, I think we'll be a bit surprised. Especially with another thing, especially with it being so long since we've had fans in the ground, they're going to want to get these fans back in the ground. They're going to want to, and the Sky broadcast, they're going to want the big games to advertise it to the world to get maybe new fans on board as well.
Well, Blessings thinks it'll be Everton. So I would usually say that'll be an easy 3 points, but I'm not too sure this season. And I think that's the thing. I mean, you spoke about you wanted to hit some of the harder teams towards midway through the season. But last season, obviously, we started with Chelsea and we got a good draw against them. But there's a difference between last season and this season. At the moment, obviously, we still haven't got that manager in place, or it's not been announced at least. We don't know what squad we're going into this next season with just yet. So many outs to go out, so many ins to come in. Is the coaching backroom staff going to change if a new manager's going to come in? There's still so many questions, isn't there? So I kind of agree with you, Anthony. I wouldn't want a massive game at the start. Last season, it was okay. I felt comfortable. I think we had a very good lockdown period as a club. I think the club did really well over lockdown. And I think the women's team went straight from strength to strength. I think we're very fit during lockdown. We saw how regimented and how much of a routine that the club had in place regarding Casey's Zoom calls with all of the staff and the players. I just think going into the start of last season, we was probably the best prepared team, and I think that Chelsea game where we did get that 1-1 draw showed that. This season, obviously, still a long way to go, but it'll still be with us. I don't fancy us if we were to play Chelsea opening game with this season. I wouldn't fancy our chances as much. I think I actually predicted a 1-1 last season. I wouldn't predict that now. So I would like to see a lower team. Yeah, of course, I'd love to see an Old Trafford one, but I don't want these Old Trafford ones to be forced. I mean, I guess they're all going to be forced because it shouldn't be as Old Trafford anyway. But
also, John, another quick one. The Olympics, it isn't after the Olympics, they got like a 2-week thing. So they might think, oh, well, we want the best players back for the game. So in a way, if United did get a big team, it could benefit United a bit more in a way because there isn't so many of our squad that will probably go to the Olympics compared to Chelsea, Arsenal, City.
That's true. Yeah.
And you look at it, you want your best players playing, so that I think clubs would think like that, but I don't think Sky would think like that. They wouldn't think, oh, the Olympics were 2 weeks ago. No, we'll just put United City on, which it could benefit for us because Ellie Roebuck will go to the Olympics. You got Chloe Kelly. Well, she's not going to be fit, is she? But Lauren Hemp. Whereas with United's squad, you're probably going to have Honor for Spain, Jessica Holland, Tooney's obviously on the reserves. So there's not going to be so many. So they'll be a bit more rested. Obviously, I know with the training and that, they'll keep their fitness levels up. But if they're not playing so much as well, you don't have that injury risk as much.
Yeah.
Like CM says, tired. And also with Arsenal, isn't it the draw for the Champions League is the 2nd of July, and don't they have to play like their first knockout game on like the 18th of August?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's another.
I wouldn't mind playing Arsenal. It's Chelsea and City because Arsenal I just scraped ahead of us last season anyway. It's Chelsea and City that I'm a little bit worried about at the moment. Ben, what are your thoughts on who would you like to play? And was you at the game? Was you at the Etihad? I mean, that was the last opening game of the season that we went to, and the atmosphere there was absolutely amazing. Was you at that game, Ben?
Yeah, I was at the Etihad. Nat was at the Etihad. Yeah, we were. Yeah, it was all right, mate. What I will say is, don't put it past the first game being at Old Trafford. Sky Sports, what a blockbuster to start for. Like Anthony said, Sky Sports, what an absolute blockbuster weekend. If that weekend is free because it's international weekend, then don't put it past the opening games being as many men's stadiums that could possibly get it at. You know, just for a pure advertising base, but on the fact that Sky spending some decent money on the coverage of the women's game. It might not be Old Trafford, might get drawn away from home for all we know. Could see in the comments, could be Leicester away, you know. So we'll put it past Sky. But what I will say about the Etihad, it was a really decent atmosphere. Over 30,000 people there, you know. it was good, but I think we could top truck that at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
So it's down to the club if that's what Sky want and what Sky, because you never know, they could have negotiated this in their contract as well, saying for that first weekend we want it in the men's stadium so we get more of a bigger views and we can make a statement out of this. So you never know. I'm not saying it is, but you never know. But it's down to if it is at Old Trafford United to advertise the hell out of it all over the websites, all over social media. That's including the men's account as well, not just the women's account. You draw people in because it's been a long time since people have been able to go to a football game. So, for some people that wasn't successful in balance or haven't been to Wembley like Anthony, So yeah, it would surprise me. And what I will say about who do we play first, I couldn't give a flying crap, mate. We all have to play each other twice. And to be the best, you're going to have to beat the best. You might be playing first, second, 10th, 11th, last game of the season. It doesn't really bother me. I was buzzing when we got Leeds United at home in the Premier League. Big match at the start. I'd rather have these big fixtures straight away because then you're going into the season. You've got no excuses. You know who you've got. It's a big game. You've got to be up for it. And I'm not saying that playing, for example, Birmingham City the first game of the season, we won't be up for it. But there's always that chance of lagging and a little bit of complacency. Like we saw when we played City at the Etihad first game of the season, we played very, very well considering that was the first game of the season. Yes, I know we lost by 1-0, but we played very, very well that game. We was all up for it, And I think it's just one of those that really get the blood pumping. If it was a big team, if it's not, I'm sure we'll be up for it nonetheless. But I don't buy into this. Oh, we should avoid big teams. You've got to play the big teams at some point. And sometimes it's usually better to play people like City and Chelsea and Arsenal at the start of the season. Get your 3 points on the board because they're not going to be motoring up and running yet. Especially as Anthony said with the players that are at the Olympics, they're not going to be fully as refreshed as some of our players. They're going to be a bit lagging. They're not going to have as much time to work with them players pre-season wise or something like that, So it might work in our advantage a little bit, just like Anthony said. So I agree with Anthony on that point. I just don't see why people are fearful of who we get first. You're playing each other. The rules of the game states you play each other twice. So wherever that may be, you could argue, you could flip that coin, that argument on its head and say you don't want to play in mid-season when these teams start motoring. When Chelsea start getting the groove, City start getting the groove, Arsenal start getting the groove. For me, it doesn't matter when you're playing. So it was on the day that we come and we give our absolute damn best. That's all I cared about.
I think for me, Ben, it's not so much our opposition. It's more about how good we'll be on the opening game, just because I think we've gone through so much as well. So I think that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm a little bit worried at the moment because I'm not too sure how we're going to go. Like last season, I didn't mind playing Chelsea. In fact, I was up for it. But this season, I was thinking, well, still so much up in the air with only 2 months to go. That's kind of my mentality. And you're just talking about all these big games for the opening game of the season. Maybe it'll be like a London derby for the opening game, and then maybe the next international break, it'll be like at Old Trafford then maybe. I'm just thinking aloud because it doesn't need to be Man United, Man City opening game.
No, it doesn't need to be United, City or United, whoever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do agree
what
with
I'll
that.
do is I think that they'll have because Sky Sports have games over the 3 days, the Friday, the Saturday and the Sunday.
Yeah.
I reckon you could, even if they did have, for example, an argument say a Manchester derby, London derby, and then I don't know, maybe Arsenal play Leicester City, for example, brand new promoted side, Champions League, a team that finish in the Champions League places. That'd be great. You could have 3 games that way. I'm just thinking with the Sky Sports deal and the way Sky Sports like to do a blockbuster type start to their events, we could all be wrong, mate. We could all be at LSV, lad. Which would still be great as well. Because I'd rather fill LSV than Old Trafford first. I'm one of them purists. Yeah. Let's get LSV full first. But I just think with Sky Sports that it'll be that sort of way where they're probably maybe contracted. Even if you might be right, it might be just the one at that weekend. They might have Chelsea Arsenal, for example. They might can we have it at Stamford Bridge, if possible. But we'll see. We'll see, mate.
I'm looking forward to it anyway. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys outside the stadium. And I remember that at the Etihad, obviously the Barmy Army had a stand set up there. It was all there a couple of hours early. This is what I want to see again, even if it's an away game. if it's like if it's against Villa or Birmingham, I'll be there first. It's dead the right for me. So yeah, wherever it is, it's going to be exciting. Whatever night of the week or day of the week it is, we're going to be there, and it's all going to kick off again, which is great. I can't wait now. We're going to move on. We're going to talk a little bit about what we've been advertising throughout the day on our Twitter regarding the money that we've kind of missed out on not making Champions League. So I was going to go back a couple of months, and the reason why I think this is relevant is because we're kind of seeing it a little bit now with some of the players that we're linked with. So back in April, it was a pre-season press conference, not a pre-season, sorry, a pre-match press conference when Katie Stoney was asked about her transfer budget, and she basically turned around and said that her transfer budget won't be able to match the big three. And I think the exact quote that I've got here is, all the players who we want to come in will want to come in. Best get the business done sooner rather than later. And it has an impact on our budgets, despite what people think. We don't have the budget of the top three. So I just want to break those three things down because I think it's all relevant. So when she says all the players who want to come can come, to me, that makes me think that some of the players who we might have been after won't even be bothered if we win Champions League. Now, that to me then makes me think, okay, well, some of these players that we're going for are kind of a little bit lower down who want to make a step up in their career. And a step up would be Man United, who are currently fourth. So I'm just going to put it out to you guys first. I'm going to just go through each point on that. If you want to kind of come in on that one, I might just be reading too much into it, but all the players who wants to come to us can still come to us. That to me makes me think that it's not someone who's like a Buddy Shaw or someone who needs Champions League support.
Yeah.
Martha Thomas, for example, that would be a step up. It doesn't matter if we win Champions League or not; she would still come to us.
And I think there will be players who are Champions League, who have been in the Champions League, but want a new challenge. Like you said, there's some Champions League teams that aren't even on our level. So, the WSL is one of the best leagues. So, for example, a player that we've talked about a lot, Bo Risa, we talked about her in the January, and now she's left the club in Norway, and they're saying it's going to be announced soon. And now we've set the ball rolling with these. It looks ominous. For me, I think I sort of replied to it, and I think the money factor is a factor, and we can't look away from it. We can't look away from like you said, how much we'll lose from not being in it. Obviously, that was some money that would have been in the budget anyway. But I think we have a budget anyway, and I know she's like, well, it's not as big as the big three. It is still big. It's not sort of a West Ham budget and this and that. And I know people are sort of going on about Martha Thomas and all this, but for me, Martha Thomas isn't going to be like the main striker. Isn't going to be, the one that we're relying on. I think there's going to be more strikers. I don't know who. But I think if we're signing a player like Bo Risa, who's absolutely quality, we've talked about, with Mia on a previous show, we won't be just that's it. Martha Thomas is our new number 9. It's going to be the sort of squad game. And people can say this and that, and they'd rather this and that. But I think, for me, Bunny Shaw was the one. And I've said it on various places. And for me, I think that's one we were going to go in for. But obviously, once we dropped out, it's changed. I've heard something, people saying, oh, well, we're going to get Nikita Paris. If not, for me as well, Nikita Paris, Martha Thomas. Nikita Paris is probably a bit better, but I'm not sort of sitting there going, when I've watched Nikita Paris and thought, wow, like, this girl's going to score 20-odd goals for us. No, it's just, it's in and around there. And I think, for me, now probably we're going to get someone and develop them. Whether that's Leslie, and hopefully she can play the whole game, but, I don't know. But I'm not sort of, oh, Martha Thomas, that's it, we're finished. It's a case of Martha Thomas, it's not the one that we maybe wanted. And it's maybe a step down from even, because for me, the one that I was a bit disappointed with was Anna Evergaard. She's gone to there's talk that she's agreed Everton. And that was a player that I was thinking, but that was a player, if she's going to Everton, for example, she was a level above. I would rate her higher than Nikita Paris, for example. So all this Champions League, all this and that. No, she's going to someone who's finished 12 points behind us. For me, and I think Reece even said it, Reece Land, when we had agents on, it's the ambition that they show. Yes, players want to play in the Champions League when you're up there, and say Bunny Shaw, 25, whatever old she is, wants to cement herself as the best in the world. And I think she'll post them numbers. But for example, Nikita Paris has played Champions League. Is it probably a big factor? Maybe not. Anna Evergaard has played Champions League. Is it a big factor? No, it's about her stepping into a league from the Swedish league to say an English or a German and all that, and Everton have shown the most ambition. So that's the thing with me. I mean, we've talked about these Swedish players going and playing for Bayern Munich. If they're good enough to play for Bayern Munich, they're good enough to play for Man United. So there'll be players there. It's just, are we in for them? Are we, and how much ambition do we, is a manager affecting it? I think so, and I don't think so. I think if a player really wants to come, they'll come. If they're Bo Reece have his diehard red and wanted to come back when we're in Championship. So, let's see. I mean, they've said, I don't know. We've heard that there's still a few deals yet to be done. Bo Reece is probably one of them. So, let's see if who the others are, and then maybe the manager will come in, and that will lead to. I mean, we sort of said on this show, the start, it was Anna, Stanley, and Ivana. That wasn't, even though I heard good things about Anna and Ivana, it wasn't exactly set the world alight, was it? And then towards the latter half, bang, bang, bang. So, and big deals take a long time. So, I mean, even me, I'm sitting here, I'm going to throw something out there, and I want to know what the boys had to say. Ben, what do you think? But Tobin and Kristen aren't going to play. They're not going to get traded anywhere. So they're going to need to just play, even if it's 6 months. And I tell you what, if we get a big top quality manager, sort out the training, no COVID. I don't know. I mean, I know Kristen's come out and said this and that, and I like to be at home, but Tobin, maybe 6 months. I don't know. Something that, I'd do it for 6 months if that's all it is, and then they go to thing. I'm sure we all would do it. I mean, let's see, because now it looks like they're going to start announcing people leaving, so let's see how they leave that one. But that was something that Casey said, we'll have to talks in the summer, So, where are they going to play?
Well, let's bring Ben in on that one. I mean, that would be a fantastic signing, because don't forget they're not under contract with us anymore. Well, after this month, it was only a 1 year deal. Would that be the best signing that we can make, Tobin, for another few months?
Probably, mate. And I did harp on it on your show, didn't I? There's a reason why they keep using the Americans on the social media, United as well. Somebody, I think Matt made the point of maybe just trying to use the last little bit of image rights out of them, to advertise stuff and to get people to click onto their social media stuff and all that lot. But it wouldn't surprise me, mate. This is why our signings seem to be a little bit underwhelming. Well, I won't say underwhelming, but the reaction is a bit underwhelming to things like Martha Thomas, out there. Maybe United have negotiated and got the Americans to sign for the 6 months, maybe even a season. You never know. And that would be that United turn around and say, listen, we've kept Tobin, we've kept Kristen, and we've brought Martha Thomas in. She's going to be one that's going to be allowed time to develop and to build a game. One for the future as well. She's going to be challenging, let's see, for a starting place and whatever, up front. And but that's the logical reason I can see that maybe the Americans will stay. But even with that, even if it's just 6 months, even until January time, I'd take that. With them, they'll make us a better team. We can bang as many points on the board as we can especially with Tobin in the team. Tobin was the one that impressed me more than Kristen did. So if we keep hold of Tobin, maybe Kristen will stay anyway if Tobin stays. But if we keep hold of Tobin in particular out of the two, I'll be buzzing for that, because she was head and shoulders above everybody else when she was fully fit, and we was motoring, we was top of the pops in January before the winter break. Just after the winter break, before it all started going a bit pear shaped. But I'd be up for that. It's a very good point that brings up there. Even if it was just for the first few months of the season, to see us through to January, I'm happy for that. I'm happy for that. But if they were to go, I'm hoping that we are working on some sort of deals to bring in some kind of decent replacements for them as well, because we need to make sure we have the right mixture of ready-made talent and talent that is ready, that are going to take a little bit of time and will be ready for the future. So it's all up in the air. I suppose over the coming weeks we'll find out what's going on, and hopefully we'll have a clearer picture. But I'm down for that. Even if it's just for, as Nat said, six weeks, even if it's till January time, whatever it may be, I'm down for that. But I really hope that United have worked hard behind the scenes to say, listen, we know we don't have Casey Stoney anymore. Look, we are improving. Can you give us another season or another 6 months? And let's hope that we've been planning behind the scenes and nothing's been left to last minute, and then we're going, which has been typical United the last few seasons. So,
I was going to say, that brings us on to a second quote about get business done sooner rather than later, and that was back in April. Now, Reece, you mentioned Reece earlier, that when Reece was on the show last week, he says things start getting done come January, in the transfer window, he just getting it over the line. So let's bring Anthony in. I mean, do you think deals have been done already, but they just haven't been announced?
I think certain deals have possibly been done. Like I said earlier, we know United as a team like to drag things out, so it wouldn't surprise me. We've all heard that apparently Casey's was helping with recruitment for at least 2-3 players, which we have previously discussed on other podcasts. This is another thing with the Tobin thing, in that if surely they'd want to play, and you could think, well, maybe we do have a new manager, whereas it's a bit easier to keep it hush-hush in the women's game. So they could be like, they got a new manager and we're like this, why haven't they announced a new manager? And that the new manager, you knew what Fergie was like. The new manager could have rang them up going, Tony Kristen, I hear you haven't got a contract, or how would you like to play for another 6 months? This is what I want. This is my vision. This is how I want to do. And sell themselves. So there's a lot. I know it's ifs and buts and a lot of ifs, but until things come out like, they're leaving or we're signing this and that, it's like I said before, it's very much like we just have to wait. And I reckon there could be a surprise. I think, and that would give the fan base, what our fan base are like on Twitter. They're very quick to go off on one if they're not happy with something. And I'll admit, I know we've mentioned like Martha Thomas and that, and I've looked at the stats compared to Jane Ross and that, and I'm like, but I think if they sign for United, you've got to trust the process. You've got to get why they're at United. You've got to back them. You've got to trust that the club as a whole have identified these people and they can make them better. I know Martha Thomas is 24 compared to Jane Ross. So there's a bit of an age gap. There's been obviously Natasha Flint's names circulated, and I've said, is she better than Siggy or on par with Siggy? Or so you got to give them a chance, whoever we get. And I'll back whoever it is. I know some people, like in the current squad, you get people go, oh, why this, why that, why are they still playing? But until they're not a Man United player, and I'll be like, and even when they do leave, like with Jess, I'll be like, oh, thank you, and I appreciate what you have done, because especially with the OG 21, they were our very first professional WSL squad, so we've got to be grateful that we have had the opportunity to have a squad. And I think because we did get to the top and we were looking like Champions League, we jumped the gun too quick. Like, people were thinking, oh yeah, Champions League in the third season, second W season. And I know Casey's gone now, but Casey, it was always a 5-year plan. And I know we've discussed, hopefully, Casey won't happy with certain things, but we've got the new manager comes in now and hopefully continues the process.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Speak about new manager, Stuart. If this happens, you're going to come on the show when this gets announced. You can actually host it live, and I love that. I wouldn't mind that as a player manager, just for the time being, until we get whoever is going to come in properly. But yeah, I'd love to see that, at least temporary, even if you just have a pre-season. That would just be great to see. We're going to move on to just a couple more topics. So we'll end the show talking about the 5 names that the MEN kind of put out there as the leading candidates to replace Casey Stoney. But before we do, just keeping on with this financial budget and the transfers and all this kind of stuff. Just want to read this one out. This was on the UEFA website. I think it was about a month or two ago. I was going to read this statement out regarding how much money is actually involved in Champions League now. The new model introduced in 21-22 season and approved by UEFA's executive committee will see the world's biggest women's club competition redistribute 24 million euros to women's football across Europe. That's more than 4 times greater than what it currently is. So obviously it's massive. So 4 times the amount. So that basically means that it was 6 million and now it's gone up to 24 million just over this season, this forthcoming season, which is absolutely massive. If you just enter the competition, you get 400,000 euros. The winner of the competition will get 1.4 million euros. So you're talking massive money. But what it's also saying, which is good news for other teams who aren't in the Champions League but still in Europe, some money will also be distributed to clubs who aren't in the competition, but that must go towards the development of clubs. 23% of that 24 million would have to go to developing players and clubs. So again, you're talking about 6 million being distributed across Europe to go to development squads, which is a huge chunk of money. I appreciate it's divided up to a number of teams, but again, there's a lot of money there floating around. And that's what you think of when it's kind of here, that kind of money in the women's game, because all of a sudden you're going from like a few grand to millions, aren't you?
Yeah, and that's what's going to help keep growing it. And obviously, I know they've changed the TV deal. So now I think with Champions League, you have to buy the men and women. So whoever broadcasts the men will have the rights to the women as well. And, you know, it's no point in leaving it sitting, get it on the telly. For me as well, you say development, and it makes me think of development teams. So grassroots, young kids, but probably some of that money, well, if they do it right, because who knows going to distribute it, UEFA and all this. It shouldn't really go to us. We should have enough money, but knowing us, we'll put our hands out for it. But as potentially, we should. If we can get it, we should. I'd want Man United to get all the money for the women's team, but we should go to like championship teams, tier 3, tier 4, because for me as well, say when these young kids don't make it into Man United, say first team, there should be pathways. There should be multiple options that they can go to, and build their way up. There should be people who are able to come through tier 3, tier 4, and then all the way up like that. They don't always have to. We see in the men's game, your Jamie Vardy, Ian Wright, they didn't all come through academies. So what about those players like that? And I think once we see things like that, then it'll be better for the women's game as a whole. I know obviously, talking as a whole in the women's game. And, Craney will say, oh, it's my show. But no, it will be better because it's going to benefit our girls, our team. Like you said, if anyone comes up like a Jamie Vardy, money going into the women's team, lower league teams will be beneficial, and that could benefit us in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we wanted to grow obviously the women's game and just to get more fans into the stadium. Ben, what are your thoughts on the fact that the likes of City, Arsenal, Chelsea, we're trying to catch them, and now they've got that extra 400 grand just for getting into the first round of the Champions League? Can you see them going further away from us now with the amount of money that they could potentially get? And obviously they've got to spend that money wisely, but it kind of puts us on the back foot a little bit, doesn't it? Because they've just got handed an extra 400 grand on top of what they already had from last season.
Don't forget, I think Chelsea's going to have a runners-up pot as well, pot of money. The men's have got a runners-up here. What did you say? What was the total amount for the winner who won the Champions League? Sorry, John.
So if you win the Champions League this season coming, I think it's 1.4 million euros just for entering and getting into the first round. You get 400 grand. Now, bearing in mind that I believe Alex Greenwood left and went to Lyon for 30k, and we're talking 400 grand here. It's
the reason why I ask is the money is just a little is just not even a drop in the ocean to what the men's are. The winner for the men's cup should get 19 million euros, and you're saying 400 grand or something. Just qualifying. The third qualifying round for the men's is 480,000. So it just goes to show you how much that it's still a massive gap between the men's and the women's Champions League. Although I'm glad that they put the money up, the prize money and everything has gone up. And it will affect United because I don't think, we've got owners here that are penny pinchers at the very, very best of times. So, you know what I mean? Will they make up that £400,000 mark gap between, say, us and Arsenal for this season? That's very doubtful, mate. So maybe they will pull away a little bit. However, will even Arsenal spend that sort of money? Because remember, their owners ain't the very best either. You could probably see that teams like Chelsea and City have always got a bottomless pit of money, let's be fair, with who owns that football club. But it's a hard one to think, though, is it, to say, because Chelsea seem to be blowing everybody out the water every time every transfer window they're signing more and more talent, and they seem to be amassing an absolute army. Never mind a squad, an army that they've got underneath them in terms of the players that they've got, especially attacking forward positions. I think we're gonna be struggling a little bit because can we plug that gap financially? I don't know. I think we could if United were willing to put the money in, because 400,000 is nothing compared to what they spend on the men's side. On one signing for the men's team. But it's a difficult one, really. Isn't it? A difficult one to really say. Only time will tell, because obviously these teams would have had a gap on us before. We qualify for the Champions League, every season, while we've been making our way through from the Championship to the WSL. And that gap's not really been that apparent, really. Apart from City away last season, we've not really been proper blown away, by these sides. We've always been thereabouts. It's always been a single goal near enough just to, or a goal within it just to separate us and the bigger sides. We've always held our own. I just hope that we just, we give whoever comes in, whoever it is comes in, we give them the best chance that we could give them to qualify or to push for qualification Champions League next season. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all want to be. We all want to be in Champions League football. We all want to go. We all have this dream. We've had this dream since the Championship days. Me and Nat of going abroad, watching United. Because it'll be cheap as chips. Compared to the men's game, cheap flights. The tickets will be pretty cheap compared to watching the men's games in the Champions League. I just hope that. I just hope that it won't be too much of a disparity between the sides, but you just know that there always will be, with the money that Chelsea, with the money that Manchester City, in particular, can afford to spend on their women's sides, because that money's no object to their owners. To be fair, let's be fair, especially Manchester City, Chelsea. We've seen it doesn't seem so. You know what I mean? And they'd have had a huge chunk of money on top of that 400,000. For finishing runners-up last season in the Champions League. So we just need to do our best, mate. We need to be clever in the market. We need to entrust the new manager, whoever it is that comes in, to give from the top to the bottom, give them the best chance that we could give them, to go and break into that Champions League, to have a bit of faith, in the players that will stay in and the players that will come in. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much money some people will pour into the football club. We've seen it in the men's level when Chelsea were pouring it all into Mourinho and City were pouring it in. United still always clawed their way back. So, I don't think it's the be-all or end-all. I don't think it's a huge worrying for something to lose sleep over, basically, because there's always going to be them 2 or 3 teams that will always spend more than you because they've got the owners there, they've got the infrastructure there, they've got the years of Champions League experience under them, and they've got that relative prize money and money for qualification and what have you. It's just about doing smart business over the summer and entrusting. And listen, we can give anybody a good game on our day, and we've proved that many, many times before. So it's not something I'd lose sleep over personally. Even though I think there is always going to be that little bit of a gap until we can bridge that gap by qualifying for the Champions League, getting ourselves qualifying for the Champions League season after season, getting ourselves up there with the very best in Europe. But I still think it can be done. Nothing's impossible in this game of football.
And Anthony, I agree with what Ben said there. It's all about how you spend the money, because there's always going to be teams out there at the moment who are going to spend more than yourself. Do you think that this is the reason why we're being linked to the caliber of player that we're linked to at the moment because of the funding, or do you think it's more we've scouted some of these players, or Casey scouted these players and they're actually being handpicked because of their ability more than their value?
Yeah, possibly. We all know there's a scouting process in that, and you go and scout people and that, and yeah, possibly you don't just pick a player and think, oh, I'll get them without knowing a bit of their background. I know maybe Fergie did it once with Bebe, or that was what was reported. But 99% of the time, you do your homework. It's all right, someone saying, oh, we should get this and we should get her, and but you got to do your homework. And yes, they might come into the club and it might not work out. But if it does work out, then it's seen as a brilliant piece of business, and whoever's bought them in is a genius. And I'll go back to Fergie now. There's so many times where you think, oh, why has Fergie brought this player in and that? But he's matured them into world-class players. So what's to say that we can't do that with people like Martha Thomas and that?
That's why, yeah.
I know we all talk about we want this player and that, like Nat always mentions Bunny Shaw and that, people that have had Champions League experience and they're near enough at that level. But when you don't have so much money, you've got to find other ways of bridging the gap. And at the moment, I think United's best way is just being sensible in the transfer market. You don't want to be wasting. We talk about the money. You don't want to be wasting your money on players that's going to go. Who's to say you go out, spend $100,000 on, or whatever Bunny Shaw would be? What's to say she wouldn't flop? So it could happen.
Yeah.
But I do always wonder though why do the women and the men have a separate accounts? Because I always think why if surely Manchester club as a whole can back the women's team, because you look at it and you think 400,000, that's like Pogba's wage in about a week and a half or that.
Yeah, it is a separate account, isn't it? And they want the one itself, basically. And I think that's what a lot of women's fans don't like, the fact that clubs who have got a men's team can potentially back them financially. So I do think it's right that we should run independently, but it's nice to know that we have got that bit of clout behind us where we can kind of advertise a bit more and get more money into Old Trafford, for example, get more gates revenue and that kind of stuff. We have always got that to fall back on, haven't we? We are going to end the show shortly, but Natalie, I think we'll discuss this more on tomorrow night show with Craney, Ben and yourself. But the 5 names that was mentioned in the MEN today, I was going to spend 30 seconds, all of you, to say, is there a name here that kind of excites you? So Natalie's shaking her head already. The 5 names are Willie Kirk from Everton, Martin Holt, Casey's assistant, Hope Pearl, Brighton, Neil Ryan, under 18s, and Kelly Chambers from Reading. Natalie's not blown away. I know that you wanted
None of them. Listen, I know I'm going to just cut you up, John. Sorry. Luis Cortez for Barcelona is apparently leaving. Just won the treble. That's the kind of player that's the kind of guy that you want. No disrespect to the guy who wrote that piece, but for me, I've even spoken to other journalists and they've sort of said similar. It's highly unlikely it's going to be any of those names. It's sort of as if one guy's just gone on Google, looked at the Super League, who's done well this season. Oh, Hope Powell was one of manager. We'll put her name in. Oh, Reading are always top 4. We'll put their name in. Martin and Neil Ryan, they're United. We'll just put that. And then who's the other one? I can't remember. Willie Kirk, ex-United. So let's just put him in. Not a lot of creativity really from the Evening News. Yeah. One of the first articles they've done. I'm actually done an article myself straight away after that because I saw a lot of people saying, "What is this?" And I've done there'll be a piece out tomorrow where I've written and said these are the kind of names that we're looking for. I'm not saying that any one of those names that I'm going to write about are going to be our manager, but for me, I'd be looking at the Cortez. If you can go out there and win Barcelona a treble, and listen, they're not got the same budget as Chelsea and Arsenal either, and look at what he's done there, won a treble. So I think budget is, I know we're going back on that, I think budget is important, but I think as well coaching is important. And for me, that'll be the biggest signing, who we get as a coach, because like she says, she had a smaller budget than the 3. But for me, there's nothing between us and Arsenal really, and we should be in and around that. Budget isn't the reason we finished 4th. It's just that was our level. I think for me, the signings, I'm going to let someone else speak, but the signings, I think I'm more confident for what's going on with us than what's going on with Arsenal. So for me, I think if we get the right manager over them, then for me, next season we'll be in Champions League.
Yeah, 100%. Ben, any of those 5 names kind of grab your attention at all?
Not really, mate. It's just the MEN. Don't know who believes the guff that they write out. Once reputable source, of course, but now owned by the Daily Mirror. So You can see why no one really believes it. Neil Ryan's an interesting one because obviously his dad Jim Ryan played for Man United. Neil Ryan's a coach at the under-18s. I wouldn't mind him coming and helping coaching the United women's team, but not as a manager.
I agree. That's what I was saying.
He's got a very, very good reputation as a coach. Now, whether he want to do a little bit of work with the women's side, I'm all for that, but not as a manager, mate. Willie Kirk, not a chance in hell. Hope Powell's probably the only one that I'd say on that list that, I could probably give her a couple of seasons. It was to wait for the manager that we wanted to wait for. He was waiting for that right manager to come along, and someone said United said Hope Powell's a temporary one in charge for a season or two. I'd take that because she's very experienced. She's a class coach. But again, I'd rather have a permanent manager in straight away, so we know what we've got, we know where we're going. The other ones on that list, I just wouldn't even bother listening or paying attention to it. Only Hope Powell, if that was to become somebody to come off that list, I had to pick one, I'd say Hope Powell, but nah, mate, I wouldn't even give it another second thought. Just fish wrapper it, and that's all the MEN's good for now.
Anthony, end up for yourself there. Anyone excite you on that list?
I wouldn't say exactly sight. I think they both touched on it. Well, Ben touched on it. If I had to pick anyone out of the list, Hope Powell, with the experience, and she was England manager when they were starting to progress a bit. But the others, they're not really experienced enough. We want someone with a bit of experience in the game, who's a winner, if possible. So, to cut a long story short, not really.
Well, you say to cut a long story short, I'm sure Craney, if he gets a chance tomorrow, he'll go into a bit more detail on those 5 names. And that's it. That's the end of tonight's show. It's Tuesday, so you'll see Craney tomorrow on Tuesday. Wednesday and night off, unless if there is any breaking news, then we might go live for 15 minutes or so if there is some big news on Wednesday. Thursday, me and Natalie are back with Jessie. Is it Jess or Jessie? I think it's Jessie, isn't it? Jessie, yeah. That's right.
But it's more about, that one is more about the tactics behind the game, the stats and all that kind of thing. So we will discuss what's gone on, but it's more about the way that the women's game is going, and we want to see more stuff like that.
Yeah, looking forward to that one, absolutely, yeah. Friday Night Fan Forum and Saturday Night Live with Ben and Matt, so plenty to look forward to, and we shall see you again soon. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.